Hello and welcome to another episode of the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin.
That's my dad.
How are you?
We are talking about the top 10 free agent class of the 2020/2021 free agent pool. I think a lot of these players will be signing in 2021, Dad. We are using the MLB Trade Rumors list of their top 50.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a secondary broadcast of this from like 11 through 50. There have been 5 people on this list already that have signed since this list has been created about a month ago by MLB Trade Rumors. So at our next upload, we'll be talking about some honorable mentions that maybe slide into that back half of those last 5 options. In the top 10, Marcus Stroman has signed. He's staying in New York, and then Kevin Gausman is also re-signing in San Francisco.
Yes.
So we won't be covering those 2 players, but all those others we will be talking about pretty extensively, seeing there's many... They're very desirable free agents, obviously, but the free agent pool is not the greatest. I would say it's a pretty weak class. Coming off a 2020 year, you don't have a large sample size. If you had an off year, you had an on year, that's 60 games. That's not the largest sample to pull from. And also, owners don't have the best idea of what 2021 will look like payroll-wise or season length-wise.
Correct.
So who knows what these players are going to get signed to. I anticipate many one-year contracts.
I agree. The most general managers are on record saying they've produced 2 budgets, one with fans and one without. And as the vaccination rollout begins and everything else, we don't know when the ordinary fan may be vaccinated and feel comfortable going into a major league stadium. It could be mid-year and all that. So I'm thinking, and we talked a little bit before we went on the air about, I think a lot of general managers might be waiting until January or February to make a lot of hard decisions on what to bring into the camp and everything else, because they really don't know. So again, I think a lot has to do with what happens with the virus, and then baseball will follow suit. And it could be a long process. So it's interesting that, some free agents have been signed already, which is fantastic. But at the same time, I think a majority of these folks may be January, February to their sign.
It's also going to be regardless of what happens with coronavirus. If there's a full season, if there's a shortened season, you are not going to see 100% capacity return to MLB stadiums or any professional sports stadiums for the near future, multi-years. Personally, I'm thinking 2023, 2024, before 40,000 people are back at the same ballpark. So it's going to be a while until their full capacity is at a ballpark again.
Yeah, they even, the restaurants and everything else that went to it, people were still a little afraid of indoor gatherings being so close to somebody else. So they are a little, leery of everything. So I'm thinking, about general admission to, a stadium, they're going to say, okay, I'm going to sit far apart. So it's going to be unusual, and we'll see what happens. The World Series had, some fans, and I didn't see anything that was linked to an outbreak from the World Series. So we'll see what happens. But it was great to see fans at the World Series.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens. Transitioning to the picks, to our, obviously, our choices, our opinions, if you will. Feel free to totally disagree with all these. Tim Dirks from MLB Trade Rumors obviously has a list of his. There's plenty of people with opinions on all these players, but we want to hear yours in the comments below. I think we'll see is a lot of rebuilding in 2021.
Yes.
A lot of trades in the offseason, actually, in my opinion. So these signings are going to indicate where teams really want to go and if they want to try to compete for next year. Trevor Bauer is our number 1 pick. Dad, where do you have him going?
You know what? I'm thinking of a team that is now flush with money. They just had one player come off the books for next year.
What's that team?
It's the Mets.
Oh!
I have a surprise pick, and I think the Mets are going to try to go strong. They're going to make a very headline type of pick. They're going to try to take some of the New York fans away from the Yankees. The new owner is on record saying, hey, we're going to build a winner, and we're going to build it quickly.
So, very interesting. So we have, I don't have the Mets really taking any big names here. I have the Mets finishing 5th in the East. I have them absolutely just blowing up. They trade everyone. I think DeGrom goes mid-year. I think the Mets are a basement team. I think after...
You don't think they're going to try to make a... Okay.
I think after Cano got tested again, they're losing a second baseman. They're just going to tank. They're going to be awful. Syndergaard may not be back to mid-year already. I just don't see the horses. I think they don't have as much money as you may think, or what they're telling people. I don't see them competing in the New York market. I see them I see them like 60 some wins if it was a 162 game season.
Wow.
Like 60 and 100.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think they're an absolute basement team.
Even with the new ownership saying on record.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I did. Again, I'm going to go way off record on some of these things. I'm going to go. Most of my picks, Dirks didn't even list as an option.
Okay.
So I'm going. I usually go like 7 out of 50 for these. So I'm going the opposite of all logic. And I'm putting a lot of money into non-major teams. So like the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Yankees, the Mets. I think I said the Cubs are
Phillies,
not going to be. Phillies were my one little possible thing, but those teams don't do much this offseason.
Okay. I see Cubs downsizing.
San Diego, Seattle, Minnesota. I see those teams making more of a splash, and San Diego is where Trevor Bauer ends up.
Whoa! Isn't that something?
They need an ace. They have a lot of talented pitching.
Okay.
But they don't have an ace.
Can they afford them?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
They afforded Machado. Tatis is still pre-arbitration. Their star second baseman's pre-arb. They got some money locked up in Hosmer, but there is money available if they so choose. Padres are also going to be more of my NLCS possible World Series team next year.
Even when they trade for Clevenger, that's...
Well, Clevenger's still on their team, but he's not playing at all.
Right, because of the shoulder, right?
So he's out all year.
Okay.
Yeah. I also don't think Clevenger's an ace. I think he's a talented pitcher, but he's not a number one starter.
Okay.
So that's who my pick is.
Interesting.
Again, we're going to be, or at least I'm going to be, very controversial in many of my picks. I will be saying things like I said about the Mets. I'm sorry, no miracle in New York this year.
Wow. All right.
Well, since I was talking about my one asterisk being the Phillies re-signed JT Realmuto, who is our second pick. In terms of catching is needed, it is either New York or Philly. And again, Philly stays in Philly.
Interesting. I have them going to the Angels.
I don't see the Angels competing either.
Really? Because that owner's on record.
I know.
Saying they'll do whatever they can because they're tired of being a second division team.
I have one person in my top 10 going to the Angels, and I'll explain why. And I don't know if I have the Angels signing anyone else until the almost near dead last of our list.
Okay.
So I have them also big losers.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens, but Phillies, I think, I like what you're saying with the Phillies. They need players in so many areas. Pitching seems to be the biggest deficit right now.
Pitching's great.
Well,
they have 3 great starters.
They're losing Arrieta, and then
he's not a great starter.
Right, but I'm just saying there's some holes in that rotation of 5 pitchers.
You get a back end starter.
Okay.
I say they put more money into offense.
Okay, I'm with you. And their bullpen. Bullpen was shaky this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a couple of those getting addressed later in the next podcast.
Okay.
All right. Who's your third pick? We got George Springer.
I got him going to Phillies.
Okay, so you're not shitting on the Phillies.
No.
It's like, we need to put money into the...
I mean, they need something middle of their lineup. I mean, you talk about, their 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters. He would fit in really well with that, with Harper and everybody else.
It would be an unstoppable offense. McCutchen, Springer, Harper in your outfield. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to see just where... Hold on. Don't look at my pick for Springer. I want to see... Because obviously they wouldn't be able to get both. I think we understand that they wouldn't have enough money to get both.
That's why I got them losing.
Their center field option is either Roman Quinn or Scott Kingery, which is not the greatest center field option. Still young, but I can see them trying to improve in some way there, but I think they put more money into catching. Realmuto is, I would say, best offensive catcher on the market.
And they gave up a lot for him.
Fast, will be a catcher much longer than the likes of maybe Posey, who may be entering his last year of, catching, if he comes back at all. I mean, he opted out of this season.
Yeah.
I just see JT being the best catcher in the game right now. Again, aging Yadier Molina. I think the Phillies make sure they don't lose him.
Okay.
But so I don't see Springer going there, but it's interesting that they're going to be linked to a big name here. George Springer, my shock is Boston Red Sox.
To take the place of...
Jackie Bradley Jr.
And because he's on our list and everything else. Mm-hmm. So that would end up being a very much of an offensive trade for the Red Sox.
Not a signing, you mean?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Position switch. So
and also Springer and Cora.
Okay, and then good thinking, and then also last year Boston went downhill on their payroll. Now you think they're going to go back uphill?
Yeah, Boston has a good amount of money to spend if they so choose. I think they have more than $50 million to work with, which is pretty incredible. And what's really, I have $50 million to play with in my notes.
Okay.
And what's fun about the luxury tax situation is if you hit it 3 times in a row, it's a huge penalty. But if you hit it twice, reset yourself like the Red Sox did last year, you're hit with a very minor penalty for year 1. So I think they will exceed $50 million. Boston, I have them, I think, signing 4 or 5 of the top 50 guys.
Okay.
So I really think I love Randy Arozarena as a player. But what he did off field, I don't think he plays in 2021.
Okay.
That's
my proven guilty.
I think I think I think he's in prison.
Okay.
I don't think the Tampa Bay Rays are even a 500 team next year.
Wow.
I think it's just like the Rays after 2008. Everyone scouts them. Everyone knows what's coming. They don't have the year they were going to have. That amazing, oh my God, David versus Goliath story ends.
And they lost a very good pitcher.
Right, and it ends tough with very little room to grow their offense or their pitching staff. So I think with the Orioles obviously going to be tanking, the Rays going to be up in arms. I think the Yankees are going to be a struggle as well, and I think Toronto or Boston hit a huge resurgence to try to win.
I have Toronto signing a lot of players, and I think they're moving up.
So I think Springer has a place in either the right or center. And then sort of Verdugo or Springer plays center or right. I think they're pretty, versatile.
Yeah, offensive outfield.
Yep. Oh, there's more people coming to Boston too.
Yeah, okay.
Marcell Ozuna as a left fielder DH. Really, he does prefer DH at this point. So I have him staying in the American League. Where do you have him going?
I go Nationals.
To play left field?
Yeah.
So Soto plays right?
Well, apparently the center fielder is on the market.
Robles?
To be traded for Chris Bryant. And they're looking to get third base.
Someone overvalues Robles.
And I'm sure there's something else to it. So they need some center fielder, and I'm thinking they move that over, or he makes a good little DH, and then
if they keep the DH,
right.
That's a big factor as well.
Yeah.
If the National League keeps the DH.
Well, the Nationals need offense. They suffered tremendously last year.
Yes.
And they didn't have a great year in any regard. So, I mean, they need to score some more runs. And I think a 1-year contract or a 2-year contract might be a really good thing for Ozuna. And I think that if the DH stands, that's a good addition to the Nationals. They got to score runs.
I have Ozuna as obviously a very offensive-minded person. I do have him playing left for the field. I have him signing with. I have him with the Seattle Mariners.
Interesting.
He'll only play left for 1 year before switching to DH in this hopefully multi-year deal. But I have Seattle being very aggressive. Again, those small markets I think are really going to come into it. But Ozuna and Lewis, and then hopefully we get Mitch Haniger back in right field. That's a fun outfield.
Yeah.
That's a fun outfield.
Huh.
So,
okay. I see what you're thinking.
Marzell going to Seattle. DJ LeMahieu, probably the best offensive second baseman in the game right now. High average, will consistently stay high. Great deal for New York. Will they be able to retain him, obviously paying him more, or will he go to a new home?
He's going to a new home, and the Cubs will make the worst trade during the Theo Epstein era come back, and they're going to re-sign DJ, and that'll be their second baseman, and probably hit second in their lineup because the Cubs really need offense at the top end of the lineup. They were woefully bad this year in scoring runs. They need somebody to get on base for the high average. And I think LeMahieu is their answer. And I think the Cubs will spend some money this offseason. And, they were first place this year just because the rest of the division was not good. So everyone else is going to try to improve. If the Cubs want to stay in that lofty level, they're going to have to spend some money.
This signing has to mean the end of the Chris Bryant days.
Oh, yeah.
In Chicago.
Apparently he'll be traded this week.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
For a lot of my signings, it was tough to assume trades would happen because right now there's almost a surplus of infielders for the Cubs under this thing. You have Bote that could play second or third.
Right.
Chris Bryant's playing third or left some days. But DJ LeMahieu does not fit into that team with Chris Bryant on the roster.
I agree. And don't forget, second base for the Cubs was a weak link this year because they had a rookie, and then they did make some horrible trades. And along the way, that became a really bad position. Whoever, were in that second base was at ninth. But at the same time, I heard Schwarber's on, he may be dealt. And so then all of a sudden you need a left-handed bat. So all these things kind of work out well, and the money they save between Bryant and Schwarber might pay for his contract. So both make Bryant makes 20 and Schwarber makes probably about 9. So take that, sign his, and you're in good shape.
We haven't had one similarity yet.
Yeah.
I have DJ staying in New York.
Interesting.
I love DJ LeMahieu. I think he's an often overlooked player. The Yankees overall this offseason are going to just basically try to keep their 2020 team together. So that's just a little hint about future picks that come down the pike. But so I have him staying at second in New York.
What's how many years in New York? How much are you going to sign him for?
5 years.
5 years, and that's a second baseman for 5 years.
Yep.
Well, he was. Think about the lineup when everybody was hurt this year. He was the star.
If he does not stay in New York, Torres moves to second, and then New York has to go find a shortstop. So I think if he's not re-signed or he gets picked up before the Yankees get a chance.
For Lindor.
No, I don't see that.
He's on the market.
I don't see the Yankees. Whatever. I don't see the Yankees being able to meet that asking price.
Yeah.
As a trade piece and as salary.
Yeah.
Marcus Stroman is our 6th pick. Like I said, he's already been signed by the Mets, so we're going to go to our 7th, now 6th pick.
Well, there goes your theory that they are spending some money.
No. Stroman, first off, they offered this qualifying offer because they wanted to get a pick out of him. Stroman wanted, on record, to go to the Chicago White Sox until they signed Tony La Russa, and then as soon as Tony La Russa got signed as a White Sox, he accepted the Mets offer.
Yeah, which is a nice offer for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a good pitcher.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's worth that much.
Yeah.
But, again, I think a lot of athletes are overpaid. It's not me. Whatever. But, no, I think Stroman took that, and I think the Mets were surprised. And that also means $20 million off the board.
Off of the ledger.
Exactly. So a Korean player, and I'm sorry if I butcher this name, but Hao Sung Kim is a shortstop. He's only 25. He's coming over here to be posted this winter. A lot of people need shortstops, but will people take a risk on a non-MLB talent expecting to immediately start? If you remember Jung Ho Kang for the Pirates, that never really amounted to anything. Ohtani being injured often.
Yes.
Where does Kim go, Dad?
I go Seattle.
Oh, okay. I can actually see that.
Yeah, because if you really think of the history of Seattle, they have done well with Asian players.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking with the Asian community in the Pacific Northwest, I think that'd be a great fit. And like you said before, you could see Seattle spending some money.
Yeah.
This would be a great investment.
I agree. I think you would have to obviously move J.P. Crawford, a known shortstop, to maybe teach second base or see if this guy's open to playing second base. And then they're not strong in second base in Seattle. They got a platoon going in. But I can see that happening. I have Kim joining Ohtani. I have him in the Angels.
Interesting.
And I said earlier, I think the Angels are in a rebuild. I think they're finally going to admit it. I think they're going to say, we should not have signed Rendon. We should have traded Trout when we had the chance. Who knows what happens first. We shouldn't have signed Ohtani. I just think that they keep changing leadership, changing direction. They keep ending up with these big contracts.
A new GM right now with the Angels too, by the way.
And I just think someone just got to hit the reset button. And I don't know who that's going to be, but he is a person you actually can build a little bit of future around if he's talented as such, as a shortstop, and to develop him. And they need him. They've had Andrelton Simmons for almost a decade, and they need a little bit more offensive-minded shortstop.
And they say he's the best defensive shortstop in baseball.
Simmons?
Yes. Yeah. But if you think about it, the Angels are really at the crossroads because everything they did last year was to build for now. Hiring Joe Madden, Rondon, and everything else. They wanted to win now, and the owner wanted to win now. When it didn't go well, then all of a sudden they sold off some pieces. But now they're really at a crossroads. Either they're going to spend some money, or they're going to have to reduce the payroll. So
they got Pujols still on the thing. They got Upton still on the ledger.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Dylan Bundy's still in the ledger.
How many more years does Pujols have in his contract?
Pujols has multi-years still left in his contract because they signed him through his 40s with the expectation he would become an announcer or a scout. But I think he signed till his 44th birthday, something crazy.
Yeah, he's got a lot of books.
It was like a 10, 11-year contract.
Yeah, and Joe Madden got a hell of a contract as be manager.
I just think they're overspending in the wrong areas.
Yeah,
they have names, but they don't have a team.
Correct. Yeah, and they keep losing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ohtani. The Asian population of L.A. can root on Ohtani. We got Trout. We got the best player in baseball. We got Rendon, the hottest player on the East.
Yeah. Yeah, you
We
should.
got Pujols, a surefire Hall of Famer, who's going to wear Cardinals gear when he gets inducted, not Angels.
That's true. That's true.
So I don't know. I just think your team's not a team.
Yeah. They keep losing pieces and they're not together, and it seems like pitching is a bad thing too. I think with the injuries and everything else, they just can't get any momentum.
Yeah, they need offense. They've never had great pitching since they probably won the World Series. Honestly,
Goes back to Chuck Finley probably.
probably, but they just need a lot of work, and I don't know what it's going to get done. But I'm not obviously this podcast. You've seen me talk down on the Mets. And also, I don't think the Angels are going to be successful next year either. So there's always going to be some bias with this. If you're a Mets fan or an Angels fan, you're going to come at me with they're definitely going to sign. They're going to sign somehow the top 10 prospects or whatever. There's always going to be bias with these things, but I just have never seen a successful Angels or Mets team in a long time.
You know what? It's a really good point. And they both spend money pretty freely, but it doesn't end up being good signings.
Yeah.
So that's great. And it seems like both. At least with the Angels, they signed these players for a long-term deal, and then they're stuck.
Yes.
So I think that's a big part of it.
Moving on to another power shortstop with Didi Gregorius. Obviously, he spent some time in Philadelphia last year. He's had some time, obviously, in New York. Where does Didi sign?
I got him Cincinnati.
We have a match! We have a match!
Well,
is that what Dirk said, too? That's the first time I matched with Dirks, too.
Yeah. Well, we kind of agreed a little bit on Kim.
Maybe the logic, not the team.
Yeah, but Didi, I mean, he would do really well
on a power hitting lineup
and a short porch. Yeah. So if you really think about it,
he cranks him. He doesn't need a short porch, but
right. But I'm just saying he would be fit in really well.
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati was very upset they didn't do well last year. That was the crown jewel of the Reds last year is when they signed Nick and all those other guys, and they're saying, hey, we got a heck of an offensive lineup. We're going to be in first place in the National League Central. And when they really didn't do well, didn't make the playoffs, they know what they need to do to secure that.
Mm-hmm.
So their bullpen was in disarray, but put a little more offense in that lineup will help. And also, he's a good defensive shortstop as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan of him. He's tall. I think he's 6'4", 6'5". So perfect for there. I think Cincinnati's just going to be a softball team next year. They got Votto. That's going to be like 36 and just still trying to mash. A lot of their outfitters can hit.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be fun to have Didi on that team.
Yeah.
Kevin Gausman's our next on the list, but he's signed with the Giants, re-signed. So we'll move to...
Were you surprised by that? I thought he was going to play.
I thought he was going to... Well, I thought he was going to explore the open market.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah, but he liked San Francisco, apparently. He had a good year.
He did. I mean,
better than the Orioles' years.
He did. I mean, it seems like, he's a little bit like Jake Arrieta. Because when they're with the Orioles, they have all this potential, but don't seem to, take that next step to a really good pitcher. They get traded away, and all of a sudden become a good pitcher. So it
could be mental.
I don't know.
But there's a pattern. Don't pitch in Baltimore. I mean, I think that's... don't play in Baltimore. Let them,
But it's two really good examples of pitchers that kind of were mediocre. They go somewhere else and become a star. So, and the Giants is in the, from what I hear, it's a great stadium to play in, and fans are great. So good for Kevin. I hope he's happy.
So we'll move on to the next guy on our list, Masahiro Tanaka. I have him staying in New York.
Me too.
Very much. Okay, we got back-to-back similarities.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I just don't see anyone... I think he should get paid less than what his contract was originally with the Yankees. I don't think he's an ace. I think he's like a 2 or 3 pitcher. Now that they have Cole, Cole's your ace. Tanaka can follow.
Yes.
Or Severino, if healthy, can follow.
Yes.
So I don't see that many teams being paying even close to what Tanaka wants for the quality of pitcher he is.
Right.
So I think New York will ultimately... I don't know if it'll be a 1-year deal, but I think he'll stay in New York.
The Yankees, for a lot of reasons, they were not good, and it seemed like so many injuries. And pitching, when they got to 3, 4, 5, got to be a little tough. So this kind of maintains some semblance of a 3 or 4. And I'm thinking, again, when he is good, he's very good. But again, he's been with them for a while, and I just think that's a good addition to keep the rotation where it is, then add to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
We'll do 2 more to get it to an actual top 10 with the updated list. Fair warning on the next couple, I'm not great with starting pitching. I'm not great with bullpens. I think anyone could benefit from some of these 2, 3, 4 starters. I don't. It's crazy to me that Jake Odorizzi is the number 11th choice on the free agent pool.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a number 11 value target anywhere. Solid pitcher. He's not a Cy Young.
Well, that kind of maintains, how weak the free agent is.
Exactly. Well, you also have a name that's never played MLB baseball on 7th with Kim on the list. So that's also interesting to me.
Yeah, good point.
But I have him. This is a big risk here. Again, remember what I just said about pitching. I have him going to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Interesting.
I can defend myself if not, but the Cardinals will be sort of a half and a whole type of team. They don't have the money, so they're going to do some sort of partial rebuilding, and there's going to be partial signing. They have the biggest need with their pitching. They got a lot of injuries. They got a lot of uncertainties going forward. We don't know if Jordan Hicks will be back for 2021. Mm-hmm. Mikolas, we don't know if he'll be back.
Wainwright's old.
I have him re-signing Wainwright.
Me too.
But yeah, I think that. Yeah. But he's not a major factor in their success.
He's 39.
Yeah, he's not going to be the reason. He's not a Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
Nor is Odorizzi, but they're going to need some people to pitch. I think they end up trading some of their outfielders. I think Fowler could be on that name. So I think there's going to be a lot of new faces in St. Louis. So I don't know who they'll get via trade and who they might get via free agency, but I know they're going to be linked to a lot of these mid-tier pitchers. So I went with Jake. He's from Illinois, so I just figured that he might return to a Midwest team. So I went with Odorizzi to Cardinals.
I got him Tampa Bay. Replace Morton.
He came from there. Do you think he'd go back?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I think,
I don't see
from what I read, he wants to make sure he plays for a winner. And, right now, Tampa Bay had a good season last season. I just think that he may be a great fit because Tampa Bay's all out pitching and defense.
I hope Tampa Bay. I hope I'm wrong about Tampa Bay, and I hope Randy plays and all this stuff, and I'm all wrong about my predictions. But I don't think I have a single top 50 team. We'll see in the next podcast, but I don't remember or recall having Tampa Bay sign anybody.
They did really well last year with their free agent signings.
They did Morton and who else?
They did a couple.
Morton was 2 years ago. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they did. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it surprised me towards the end how they kind of picked up some people and plugged them in.
They pick up really well. I just don't know about outright signing.
Right.
But they might have got like a little World Series bump financially. I mean, you get money being in the World Series even if you lose.
Yeah.
So that could be something. All right, so we got the Aussie closer. We got Liam Hendricks. Where is he going to be pitching? He's not going to be pitching in Australia or Perth.
Philadelphia.
Okay, tell me why.
Because Philly's bullpen was the worst in baseball.
So are they just going to be linked to every single name?
No.
Or why specifically do they go after Hendricks?
Because they need a closer in the worst way. And the joke in Philadelphia was if they have a lead in the 6th, 7th inning, expect them to blow it. Their bullpen was atrocious. And I think Phillies have the money to, get him and everything else.
Because don't trade for Kimbrel.
Yeah. Well, he's on the market.
You can have him. Right.
But yeah, it's true. And the Cubs owe him a lot of money. But if you really think about when you talk to the fans who are Phillies fans, they said, hey, we can score some runs. We have some starting pitching. But after the 7th inning, that's when they lost most of their games. And they want to compete. Their GM is very aggressive. So I'm thinking they're going to make sure that they have a great bullpen next year. And right now, he seems to be the best of the bunch.
I can see him being linked to the Phillies again, but anyone that pitches past the 6th inning, the Phillies will have a conversation with.
Correct. I agree with you.
I think who needs more of a closer, and I don't know, again, if the Phillies are at the schoolyard and they're asking every girl to go out with them, I don't know how much attention. No, seriously, some people like to be wooed directly. Phillies are like, which one? Hey, I'll take anything. Yeah. The Blue Jays are my pick for him, I think. They have pretty decent starters. They got an okay bullpen that could be definitely supplemented by his pitching strength. It's still a small enough market where he might feel more comfortable, like Oakland.
Yeah.
A lot of these Oakland closers, Andrew Bailey, for example, coming over to big cities, Boston, get flame out. They might injure themselves. They might overdo it. So I can see Hendricks succeeding in a Toronto/Buffalo environment wherever they play in 2021 because they really need a closer, and I think he could make. Blue Jays are like those teams that are like maybe 2 players away from really being successful.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, and they're losing Ken Giles, their closer, and I don't think they'll re-sign him. He's kind of a closer.
Toronto's one of those teams that made good forward motion this year, and they got a really good farm system.
Yeah.
So though that farm system is starting to fill that everyday lineup, now they just have to fill in the holes. So yeah, it all depends on money and see what they can place him and all that stuff. But again, he'll be in high demand. He might have 6 or 7 people really after him and all that stuff. So
I'm just glad that we're not paying closers like we used to do with Chapman and Kimbrel. $20 million for a closer
because
is
they
insane.
flame out.
It's one inning.
Yeah.
It's one inning. I also think it's on your offense. If 60 games out of the year you're only beating teams by a run, maybe put more money into your offense. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's how competitive the baseball is right now.
I think anybody can close, but I'm not a professional athlete. I just don't think it's as valued, or I don't agree with how high it's valued in baseball that you're putting $10 million or more.
3 outs in a game.
Whatever. It's whatever. The great closers, Hoffman, Rivera, Lee Smith, were not paid like the starters were, and Rivera played through the teens of to 2000. So
back in the day, the closer came in the 7th and pitched all 3. So
Bruce Sutter.
Yeah,
but I think that's way more impressive. But to pitch one inning and get paid that much every other game is too much for me. But
and
that's
just
me.
one last thing about Liam is he was cut repeatedly with a whole bunch of teams, little as 2-3 years ago. So he went from team to team to team and kept getting DFA'd, and then people would pick him up, give him a chance, and now he's going to be rewarded for all that with a nice contract. But the 2 years ago, I know he went through 3 teams in one major league season and got DFA'd 3 times.
Shout out to Aussie Baseball. I think this is the only Australian free agent, at least I consciously remember talking about in 10 years of doing this.
Yeah, it's true.
So
anyway.
There's our top 10. We're going to cut the video now, so there's much more in-depth for those top 10 athletes, and we're going to get a little less detailed from 11 to 50. So it'll be the next podcast. Please watch and enjoy that. Subscribe, comment, disagree with definitely my picks. This guy is going to go with 60 years of experience in the game. But I don't know. I'm never right when we do these things every year. Like I get 7 out of 50, and I listen to the experts. I read sabermetrics, and it doesn't help me. So I've just gone off gut. We'll see if that gets me a better result in the end this year.
We'll see. A lot depends on money. So that should be great. But yeah, it was fun to do the top 10.
Yes. Enjoy and subscribe.